Welcome to Mama's Flight Path. I'm Jools and I'm so grateful you have tuned in today as we navigate the thrills and the turbulence of transitioning to work as a mama with clarity and purpose, because this isn't about going back, it's about taking off.
I have more money than I did in my 20s. I have more control. Like, okay, where do I want to go? What area do I want to explore now? Whether that's physical or metaphorical, what can I do? And things are way more possible in your 40s. So I think, harnessing that energy and seeing it as a positive thing is powerful.
Today I'm joined by the incredible Ally Murphy, an award-winning voiceover actress and host of the hilarious podcast, The Red Eye. Ally is a mum of one and she's now living in America. So she's had a fair few transitions of her own. Ally opens up today about how she has navigated motherhood, mental health challenges, and how mindset nearly held her back from living her dream career. Thank goodness it didn't, because she's fabulous.
Hello, my lovely Ally. Hello, my lovely Jools. How are you?
Great, thank you. I'm really excited about this conversation today.
Me too. I mean, we talk a lot, but I'm sure we've got something useful in there as well.
I think we might have. And I had to stop myself then saying, I'm looking forward to this conversation this evening, because obviously it's morning for you.
It's morning for me. Yeah, I'm in America now. So yeah, it's morning for me. I haven't even had any breakfast yet. I'm having my morning cup of tea.
Oh, lovely. Got a brew? Yeah.
Got a brew because we're having a chat. Got to have a brew.
Oh, you've got to have a little brew with a chat, haven't you? So, we're here to talk about all things to do with motherhood and career. And you have got the most fascinating career, which I think our listeners are going to find really useful. And you've been on an amazing journey. And before we get stuck in, I've got a really good question for you, actually. If motherhood was a voiceover gig, what would the brief sound like?
It would be about 50 pages long and completely contradicting itself all the way through. Like, must have a smile, must be nurturing, but with an element of crazy underneath everything you say, but also be really tired, but also be trying to put on a really good happy face as well for everybody. Also need to be planning absolutely everything. So there's other things going on in your brain, but you need to sound succinct as well and like you make sense. So it'd be a very long brief of a lot of stuff.
Quite opposite of things, quite contradicting stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Oh gosh. So with that in mind, Ally, tell us a little bit about what led you and guided you towards this amazing career you've got.
So when I was a kid, I always wanted to be an actor. That was all I wanted to be, actually. I didn't even have any other careers in mind. And that's what I trained for. I went to Performing Arts College and I booked some jobs on TV and I did some Shakespeare and theatre, and that was all I was going to do. And then because it was the 90s, I got derailed a little bit because I was getting told by my agent that they couldn't just cast me anymore because I was overweight, because it was 1990 and you had to be like a stick, basically. Do you remember the supermodel, like you could see their hip bones in the 90s and you had to wear this low hipster jeans? And I was not. I was a curvier lady. And and I just kept getting told that I wasn't beautiful enough or I wasn't thin enough. And it was just all this stuff. And I was in acting class one day and this guy said he couldn't come to class next week because he was going to be in, and I can remember the destination, it was like either Goa or Orlando for like a week. And I was like, well, that sounds lovely. And he said he was a flight attendant. So I thought, well, maybe I should just take a break in my career and then I'll come back when I'm 30 and then I won't be cast as the romantic lead roles. I'll be cast as the mother role and it won't matter so much what I look like. It'll just be about, my character. So I left performing arts and joined the airlines, and then I lost all my self-esteem as an actor. I remember telling lots of people, I'd be in the flight deck and I'd be saying, oh yeah, I used to be an actor, but I was really rubbish because, I'm here, aren't I? I wasn't very good. And I kept telling people that until I believed it. And I think I was 30 years old, the age that I was going to be when I went back. I was 30, I had no intention of going back to it. And I decided to lose the weight because I thought I want to be healthy when I'm 40. And so I stopped smoking and I lost the weight using Weight Watchers. And then Weight Watchers were asking for real people to be in their commercial for 2012.
This.
Yeah. So I applied because I thought, well, I've got, there's still a performer in here somewhere, even if I've lost all my confidence. And I auditioned, and I think I had to dance and sing and mime with a group of girls for the audition. And then I remember I was in Las Vegas. I was on a trip. I'd just gone to get a sandwich, like a massive American sandwich from Earl Sandwich in the Planet Hollywood Hotel. That if you ever frequented there, but it was like, oh, amazing. And then I get a phone call from Weight Watchers saying, "We want you to be not just in the advert, but one of the faces. We want you. You're going to have your own advert. You're going to have your own like magazine cover and all this stuff." And I was there with my massive sandwich, going, "I maybe should put this down now."
Yeah, what did you do with the sandwich?
Oh, I still ate it. Can't waste food.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
but yeah, I was I was kind of thrust back into. I remember being on set, and it was a massive production. Alicia Dixon had sung this song that we were all miming to, and it was a really like big budget commercial with Alicia Dixon in it, with all of us miming to her song and having individual little moments. And they had like a zip line, like a cameraman on a zip line going through, because it was a one shot. It was going, and it went underwater at one point. It was like an incredible production. And I remember being on the set and going, oh my God, I missed this. I love everything about being on a set. Like there's people rushing around doing jobs that you don't even know what it is that they do, but they are important to the production. There's gaffers, and there's, the people doing the sound, and there's everybody everywhere, PAs running around getting things for everybody. It's so much energy, and everybody is there to do one thing. I love it. It's a real big team work.
Sounds a little bit like motherhood.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, I remember being on there, and then like I got that was the first like introduction to the universe, I guess, going, hey, do you remember this? And then I got
a little taster of excitement again.
Yeah, I got picked up by one of the production after a flight from San Francisco in my uniform and taken to a recording studio, and I did a commercial. So I did the voiceover for the Weight Watchers thing for free, which now I realise I should have been paid thousands of pounds for. But I did it, and then the sound engineer was like, the sound engineer was like, "Do you do this as a job?" I said, "Oh, no, I'm just a real person." He's like, "You should really consider it. You are really good." So I thought, maybe what if I take some classes and just see? And I took some voiceover classes and made a little demo, and it was just kind of warming me up. But I was with a guy back then. I was supposed to get married, and he was not supportive. He was very much like, well, I think you'd be daft to leave flying for a job that's so unpredictable and you might not get any money, and I think you're stupid. So I kind of gave it up. And then I gave up the man, and then when I met my husband, who works in a creative industry, and redundancies were coming up at the airline, so he said to me, "Is there anything you would do if money didn't matter? Is there anything you would do?" And I said, "Yeah, I'd want to do voiceover," and that was all I wanted to do. I still didn't have confidence enough to go back on camera. I just wanted to do voiceover. So he made it happen. He bought me a microphone and shoved me into my wardrobe. And I started a whole career, and I'm within 6 months of that, I had left the airline industry and I was a full-time voice actor. So it went really well.
There's so much in there that I'd love to unpack with you, Ali. Like, people who probably see you now just probably, I would imagine, think, how on earth could you ever thought that about yourself in the beginning of those days? Because you're beautiful and talented. And
I trained for a long time to tell myself my story. I was such a victim. I was always ill. Oh, I don't feel well. I always feel sick, and I've got a cold again. And I used to say, oh, it's Murphy's Law. If it's going to happen, it'll happen to me. I had such a negative mindset. And I think I brought on a lot of my, non-success. That's not a word. Anyway, you know what I mean. I think I brought along a lot of my failures, because I just told myself that was me. I was the one that would always fail. I was the one that would always get sick. I told myself that for so long that I wired my own brain into thinking that I was a failure.
And it's taken that mindset change and that to change that narrative and story that you tell yourself in your head. Do you think, is that what has been the difference?
Massively. And I think I was lucky because I had the redundancy money. I was able to invest in training a lot for my new career as a voice actor. And one of the things I tried, because I was literally just trying everything. I was I'm going to go for every course that I can. And one of them was neuro-linguistic programming and it was a class for voice actors, but neuro-linguistic programming. And through that, I ended up having some private coaching afterwards. I rewired my brain. And within like 2 or 3 sessions, it was really quick. And from going from thinking I was a failure and that I was always going to fail at everything and everything I tried went to pot, I went from that to, I had a mantra just after I did all those classes, and I would tell myself every morning when I woke up, or if I was doing yoga or anything like that, I would say, I am successful, I am worthy, and I am kind. And I would feel all those things because I never felt like I was a good person, but I know I was, because I would try and do as much as I can for other people. But I needed to tell myself I was kind. I needed to tell myself I was worthy of all the things that I was going to get. And then I needed to feel like I was successful to be successful. What would that feeling be like if you were successful? What would that, how would you feel in your chest? How would your face be? How would you be like thinking if you were successful? And it was powerful, like doing that every day for 6 months, basically. And things happened for me just because I did that, I guess. But I found opportunities that I wouldn't have seen before.
Yeah, that change in the mindset. I think that's huge. And I'm curious to know, like, what does success feel like in it? And have you found success now?
I feel like I'm successful now, and I continue to be successful. Success isn't a end goal. It's a journey that you're on, and when you are successful, you continue to find more opportunities and more joy in everything that you do. And success necessarily now isn't just getting the big agent or getting the high paying job or getting cast in a film. That's not success so much to me now. It's having control over my own life, being able to spend time with my son if I want to. Of course, I want to. That sounded bad. You know what I mean? It's like but being able to control when I spend time with my son. Like I'm able to be like, hey, I'm going to take the day off work today, and we'll go to the zoo or something. But having this amazing husband and this amazing child, and all of that is success to me. So we have an incredible life, and it always keeps getting better. That's what's amazing. And I don't know if that's part of my mindset, or if it's because maybe I'm genuinely grateful for every single thing I have in my life, including having running hot water. I get in the shower every morning and be like, oh, this is amazing. I'm so lucky to have this, because I know that there are a lot of people that don't. So just finding joy in the small things in my life now, I feel like has led me to find success in many other areas.
Oh, I just feel like really lit up hearing you talk about that. It just like,
that's
even
nice.
listening to it just sounds really, really beautiful. I'm here with you with the water. I also do the same. After having horrendously cold, freezing water before, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
when your pipes freeze and you're suddenly like, oh my gosh, I use that every day.
Yeah,
I need that. Yeah.
Count for that too.
I think, like you say, it's just about finding joy in everything that we have, because we're only here for a really short amount of time. And there was a big thing, I'm sure you'll remember, in the airline that we flew for. There was a guy who was young and gorgeous and just had a baby and a beautiful wife, and he passed away.
I remember this.
And that was just at the same time that I was deciding to leave my fiance, who wasn't the right person for me. And that, I think, more than anything, made me realize we don't know when our day is done. We don't know when our time's up. So I want to, in my last final moments, whenever they might be, feel like I appreciated every single thing that I had. I walk across the street to the mailbox here, and I get joy from that every morning. I don't know why. I just love it. The trees are gorgeous. Even if they're covered in mist, they're just stunning. The birds singing. I'm like, there's going to be one day where I'm hopefully really old and in like a palliative care place. I don't know. I'm going to be really old and had a great full life, but I'll be inside, and I'll be like, I just want to remember that moment of listening to the birds in the peace and being surrounded by the trees. You can find joy in absolutely anything in your day. And from going from somebody who was supremely negative, where everything was terrible, that was such a big part of me. My recovery was finding joy in the small everyday things that are happening every day. Doesn't matter if the worst thing in the world has happened to you, the birds are still going to be singing. The trees are still going to be swaying and being peaceful. So if you can find those connections with the things that are always there, that are joyful, hopefully it'll bring you some, or just a little bit of rest when you've got bad things going on.
That sounds like a lovely piece of advice. So, our listeners are, mums that are thinking about going back to work, and we've both been in that situation when it's just so overwhelming. And what a lovely piece of advice of just being able to find maybe those little moments in the day where you can
because
capture some
they're
joy.
not they're not negotiable. Like they're not going to go away, and we get so overwhelmed as mums, well, as parents, I guess. But it's just, I remember when I lost a lot of my positivity when I had my boy, because I was not expecting to have mental health issues again, for one, and not expecting to find it so difficult. But being able to cling on to just one little thing, one little moment of calm or peace or happiness, it's important, especially when things feel overwhelming, when you're trying to get back to work, or if your kid's not sleeping and you've got to go back to work, that sort of thing. It must be really, it's difficult. So finding the little things is helpful in that way.
Lovely piece of advice. And so should we delve into, you touched on there about sort of facing mental health issues again, and thank you for obviously sharing what you have with us. There's so much in there that I think people resonate with. And obviously you got to a place there where it sounds like you were kind of in a really great place, like you'd started a really great career and you'd made that transition and things were going really great. You'd met your gorgeous husband, then you had your little boy.
Yeah. And you know what? I was one of those really lucky people that had the most amazing pregnancy. Nothing, I slept all night long, didn't have to get up and pee 50 times in the night. I didn't get morning sickness. I know I'm really lucky, and I know a lot of people want to punch me in the face right now, but I had a great pregnancy, and I felt awesome. And I was having a home birth, and it was all going to be awesome. I was like, I didn't have my labor was obviously painful, but I felt powerful in it. I had affirmations all over the house, and I was in control, and I was in a tiny little place in the back of my mind that every time I had a surge, I would the water would rush over me. I was in like a cool, dark, like cave, but like a star cave, not a scary cave. And I'd feel like calm wash over me, and I'd be through it, and I'd be like, I am so powerful. My body's amazing. I am birthing this baby, and I did it without any pain relief. But the little monkey had his arm over his head, so just to make things slightly trickier. And I was at home, of course, so there wasn't much medical intervention, so I was pushing for 3 hours and getting very tired. And I don't remember a huge amount, so a lot of it's coming from what my doula and my husband and my mum said, because they were all with me. But I was in the bathroom, and then like his head kind of half came out, and I was like, I am not giving birth in the toilet. So I kind of waddled out. But he went back up, and I was like, oh, damn it. And they were like, look, Ellie, we're going to have to give you an episiotomy if you don't get him out soon. We're worried about it. He's been there in a while now. He's been squeezed for a while. So, you need to either push him out, or we're going to have to get some, cut you a little bit. And through that, I think I don't know if I did get cut or not, but anyway, he came out. That was fine, on the couch, and everything was lovely. And we were on the sofa and having cuddles and everything like that. And then apparently I just gave the baby to someone. I can't remember who. I think either my doula. No, I don't think it was my husband. I think it was my doula, Emma, who's my best friend. And she, and then I passed out, and I lost a ton of blood, and then I got blue lit to hospital because I was, my placenta was stuck, and I can literally pinpoint the minute that I went from happy, successful Ally. And then at 6:38 on July 16th, I suffered and went into a pit of, it wasn't what I was expecting. I was not expecting my body to fail me. I know it didn't, but you know what I mean? Like, that's what your brain tells you, by holding onto the placenta a bit too much and then making me bleed a lot. Thankfully, everything was okay, and I had blood transfusions and a manual placenta remover and stuff. But I remember looking at my baby in the hospital and being like, I don't know him.
Oh my goodness.
And that was weird. I thought, that's not what I thought it was going to be like. I thought it was going to be all like, oh, my baby, my darling, and everything. I remember looking at him going, nope, not what I thought you looked like. And, yeah. But I was also determined to be the best mom ever, and to be, I can do this. And millions of women do this all the time. So why can't I do it? I'll be absolutely fine. I forced myself to like pretend to be okay enough to get out of hospital. I wasn't okay. I was so not ready to go home. In fact, I should have had another blood transfusion. The midwives ended up saying to me, like, 10 days later, they were like, "You still don't look well." I was shaking the whole time. I was so paranoid that people would think I couldn't do it, that I was just faking being this perfect mum the whole time. But my brain was spiraling, and Nolan wasn't a good sleeper from the start. Like, he was waking up every 20 minutes, which most newborns do, but he continued to do that for about 4 years. So I was sleep deprived. I was full of rage, which no one ever talks about, but it's a thing. It's like, postnatal rage. It's the same as
Mm.
postnatal depression, postnatal anxiety. I had all of them. I remember like holding Nolan and being so angry. I was like, I'm worried I'm going to throw him against the wall. He will not stop screaming. I don't know what to do. And just the anxiety was horrific. And I really suffered for a full year. I remember went to the doctor for something like a couple of months in, and they were like, "Are you suffering from postnatal depression?" And I remember being, "No, no, no, it's fine. I need to sleep. I'm just really tired. This kid won't stop screaming. I don't understand what's wrong with him. I found breastfeeding really hard, but I was like, no, I am determined to breastfeed." I don't think it was the best thing for him now. In hindsight, I feel like he really struggled with latching. I was bleeding and in pain, but I was like, nope, I am breastfeeding and I'm doing it. And I put so much pressure on myself to be the idea of what I had in my head of what the perfect mum would be like, that I didn't give myself any grace for the things that I wasn't expecting to happen, like the
Yeah.
absolute exhaustion of it all, finding breastfeeding hard, all of these things I didn't, and I punished myself because I was so determined to be perfect. And
Oh, Ali.
I didn't get help because I didn't want the doctor to think that I wasn't good. I just was like, nope, I'm going to get through it. I'll be fine. And I felt like, I'd battled my own mental health issues just 4 years previous to that,
Mm.
and managed to turn myself around with positivity. And now I'm stuck in this. And I just felt like I couldn't catch up with myself because I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't taking care of myself. I was just kind of trying to find how to work this boy who wouldn't stop screaming, wouldn't let me put him down for even a second. So all naps were contact naps, all sleeping. He was slapped on my chest for 10 months and he was a big boy. And then we co-slept, but it didn't. Co-sleeping works for so many people. It didn't work for us, mainly because I'm such a light sleeper. I would wake up constantly, like every 10, 20 minutes throughout the night, I would wake up. And then eventually Nolan would wake up and then I'd have to feed him and stuff. And so I wasn't getting any sleep. I was so sleep deprived. It wasn't healthy. So it wasn't working for me. But again, you just push on through because you think, well, everyone else does it. So why I should be able to do it too.
And that's my question to you, Ali. Like, thank you so much for being so honest and open, because I think we don't talk about this stuff, do we? Like, I'm
No.
so lucky that I've got you as a friend, because I had Hugo a year after Nolan, and luckily you were able to like give me the heads up on this kind of stuff. But nobody tells you about this side of it. And I'm curious to know, like, when you were saying about how you felt pressured to be this perfect mum, like, where was that coming from?
Myself. Nobody else, just my own silly brain. I just had a picture of what my life was going to be like as a
Mm.
mum, and it wasn't anything like it. So I was trying to squeeze this round peg into a square hole and make it work. And I didn't give myself any grace. I didn't ask for help. And then lockdown happened, and so we were on our own then for a lot of it. So it was a really tough time. It was one of the reasons, like, we only have one, and that there's a reason. Like, I was like, I can't go through that again. Like, and that's probably an awful thing to say, but it's not an awful thing. It's a very truthful thing to say. I didn't want to put myself through that again. Mainly because I also had Nolan to look after, so I didn't want to be in a position where I might be mentally unwell and have a toddler to care for. And I didn't want to. I didn't want to feel like that again. And I knew that I was on a
I
pathway
think
to
that's terrible.
recovery, but
And I think that's actually a really amazing thing to be able to acknowledge. Like, to me, it sounds like you wanted to be the best version of you for your family and for yourself.
yeah,
And that's
yeah,
quite a big thing to
absolutely.
acknowledge.
Yeah. And it's such a big responsibility when you have a child. I was so aware, really weird and really annoyingly. I read this book a week before I gave birth about mental health in children and infants. And I was like, right, I know I have had mental health challenges in the past. I know it's in my family. So there's a chance that, if I can make Nolan mentally healthy from the very beginning, then I'll do that. And it was all this stuff about if you let your kids cry out, then it can cause anxiety and all these mental health issues in the future. So I was like, okay, right. So I can't let him cry out. And that was my thing. I would never let him cry. Even if I put him in the car seat and seriously, this boy could not be put down for more than, even a minute was more than he would handle. So after 10 minutes driving, I would have to stop and pull over and breastfeed him because I was just so like, I can't let him cry for this long. This is torture. And I was so, I wish I hadn't read that book because I feel like I might have had a different journey if I would just let him know it's okay that I'm here and it's okay to be sad and it's okay to be frustrated and you're a baby, you can't communicate in any other way. So it's fine. I'm not neglecting you. I've not like left you, abandoned you for hours at a time. It's 10, 20 minutes in the car. It's fine. I didn't go on a journey longer than 10 minutes for the first year because I couldn't. I felt like I couldn't. So yeah, man. I mean, there's so many things I'd go back and change if I could, but I can't. And
But you can't. But if there was if you could go back to yourself in that hospital, what would you say to yourself?
Stay another night. You don't have to go straight home. It's fine. Hospitals aren't evil. That's what I was like so convinced of, is that they were going to make me have loads of, make it all medical, but I'd already given birth, so it's fine. But yeah, I'd stay another night and recover, accept help. Damon, my husband, had to ring my mum and ask her to come down because I wouldn't. And like, I was mad at him when he told me that he'd called my mum and asked her to come and help, because I was like, no, they're going to think I can't do it, and I can do it. I'm fine. So I accept help, and also just listen to other mothers, because I didn't really ask anyone any questions. I didn't go to like the prenatal groups. I didn't go to a prenatal group.
Antenatal groups.
Yeah, I didn't go to one of those. So I didn't really know. All I'd done is read this book saying if you let your child cry for more than a minute, then they're going to have mental health issues in the future. And I genuinely would probably let him cry a little bit more now, because I feel like I put myself for 4 years of no sleeping because he never learnt to sleep on his own. I wouldn't let him cry it out, obviously, but I would definitely be trying some different tactics other than just hoping he would eventually not need me there all the time. Eventually, when he turned 4, and I was like, I can't, I'm getting sick now. I was in my 40s because we had him quite late. I was in my 40s. I was like, I cannot, I'm getting ill. I'm getting like, I think I had a cold sore. I had a cold sore every 2 weeks for about 2-3 months. And that was my body's sign of like, you are so run down. I was like, I have to do something. And I bought this course that said about, and I think it probably only works with children who are a bit older that you can have a conversation with. But we talked with Nolan about how we all need sleep for our health. And so we're going to help him learn how to sleep by himself. And we did that gradual retreat thing. So, started off in his bed, and then just, every couple of nights we'd move a little bit further and then stop touching. And then would be sleepy mummy. And it was hard for a couple of nights. Like he would cry and be like, wanting me to, he'd throw his duvet off or something and wanting attention. And I'd just be like, it's time for sleep. Be like a weird robot. But it worked. And then within like a couple of weeks, he was sleeping on his own and sleeping all night long, which he had never done. Like he would wake every hour. It was unbelievable. Like we were like, oh my goodness, this is what it feels to be rested. I felt I was sick for 4 years because I wouldn't give myself that rest. Oh my goodness. But and he's changed since he's been able to sleep all night long as well. He's definitely, the bags have gone from underneath his eyes. And why didn't I do that earlier?
Like you said, Ali, you need to give yourself grace.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do now. I feel like I'm a bit better now. And I ask for help, and I, see that I talk to Nolan about a lot of things about, what we do for our bodies and what we do for our health. And if I'm feeling feelings like I'm feeling really frustrated right now because of this, and he's really good at saying why he's feeling feelings as well. So maybe it all worked out in the end for some reason, but it was a long journey.
And it's funny that you like hearing this from you, Ali, because obviously I used to come to you for advice. So I
You
used,
silly woman. I had no idea.
but you saying there, like, we talk, you would talk to other mums, and you were the mum that I came to. So from the outside of me, for me looking in, was, you are and were an amazing mum, and you were doing the absolute best, and I could see you doing that with him, and I see you doing that now. Like,
Oh, thank
you're
you.
so great in the way that you talk and explain, and I've seen you kind of, using some of your like some of your voice exercises that you do, like with him, like with, so like the calm down and the way you talk to him, which
Yeah.
is amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I do feel like better. I feel like we're doing a pretty good job now, but I think, yeah, just those baby years were really tough. And I felt like I'd lost myself. Like I didn't work as much. I was self-employed, so I literally 5 days after giving birth, I was back in the booth, mainly because I was like, take this kid outside. I've got to do some work. I needed to work just to give myself a bit of my old self back. But I felt like I'd really lost myself in that first year. And, we go from being these fully formed women with dreams and hopes and aspirations and jobs and lives. And then suddenly it all gets sucked up by this tiny human. And it's really easy to completely lose all of that stuff. I think it's really important for mums to have things that are just them, whether that's a career or whether that's a hobby or whether that's just going and sitting in a coffee shop for an hour and not talking to anybody. You just need something that is just you, where you're not a mum and maybe you're not even doing your job title, you're just you. I think that's so important for all of us to be more rounded as parents and as good as we can be in our careers.
That sounds a little bit like topping up your cup, isn't it? Like, you can't pour from an
Hmm.
empty cup. I always say that. And it's just
Yeah.
filling up your, giving that kind of, not a big fan of kind of that self-care piece, but it is, and it's giving yourself something back. I always refer, it's almost like, charging your phone, isn't it? Like, you've got to have
Yeah.
some juice in that tank to
Yeah.
put it back.
It's that whole, like, help put your mask on before helping others, because you're useless if you're unconscious. You can't help anybody. And if you're completely drained of everything, I remember being quite an angry parent with Nolan for quite, I feel I'm so glad it was before we can remember stuff, because I feel really guilty sometimes. I remember one time he wouldn't get in the car and he kept on getting out his seatbelt and screaming, and I was at my point where I literally screamed at him and then shut the car door and had to stand outside and be like, no, that's not what I want to be. That's not who I want to be. One of the most humbling things you have to do is apologise to your child for your own behaviour. But I have done it quite a few times, I think. But I think it's also healthy. I think it's good for the kids to know that mummy and daddy aren't always perfect, and that's not how you should act. It's good to apologise if you've done wrong. But anyway, all of that stuff, that was all before I started taking care of myself, started prioritising my sleep. So now I don't drink as much anymore. I used to have a little glass of wine, but I don't drink as much anymore because I've recognized that it makes my heart race at night, and then I don't sleep very well, and then I don't feel good the next day. I'm not a huge fan of exercise, but I do make myself do it like 3 times a week at least, or I'll go on a hike or something, even though I'm like, I've got so much work to do. I really don't have the time to go and do that. I will make myself either walk somewhere for at least 20 minutes or go on a hike or go do a workout, because when I'm physically healthy, I'm more mentally healthy, and then I'm able to be a better parent or be a more balanced person or do better in my job. We tend to like prioritize things completely wrong, when really the self-care, and it's such a term that can really put people off, but just making sure that you're healthy enough to do everything is important. That should be your number one priority, because everything else is so much easier once you've done that.
And we can we can put so much guilt in it, can't we? Like, oh my gosh, why on earth should I do something for myself when, like you say, there's like a ton of things that need to be done? But
Yeah.
you're right. The one thing we used to say in the airline was put your oxygen mask on first.
Yeah.
It's so true, isn't it? You cannot help anyone unless you have looked after yourself first. And I love, like, you've just beautifully shared that, how that sounds like that was the big difference for you,
Yeah, massively.
taking
I,
that
tr- I
self-care.
try. I try to like have. I said I try to. I tried to, but now I haven't done it in a little while. Make Friday because it's my least busy day for voiceover work. My day where I'm not a mum and I'm not a business person. I'm just me, and I'll try and do something for myself. So I'll always do a workout on a Friday, and I'll maybe nip to the shops or get my nails done or just lie on the couch and watch Netflix for a few hours. Whatever I feel like doing in that moment, I try and make Friday the day that I do it. It's not always possible because life does get in the way, or sometimes there's really exciting things that you want to do. So, as long as I'm not doing something out of being forced to do it, then, Friday's my day to take care.
It must be such a lovely luxury of being self-employed.
It is. Yeah, it is a luxury because you don't always get that. I think mums get the raw end of the deal when working for corporations because they just don't seem to be flexible at all in a lot of companies. I know some are, but it's really tough for women. You kind of forced to work these hours that are either put upon you by your boss or put upon you by your school, and then that's it. There's very little time for you to be flexible. But as a self-employed person, I'm able to do that.
Because you were saying in the States, how is it Wednesdays? They only do half days?
Yes. School finishes at 11:45. What
Hey,
the? It's like they're active. Like, so imagine going to your boss and you're like, "Hey, I am a mother, so I can work from 8 till 3, and then I have to go and pick up my kid. Except for Wednesdays when I have to finish at 11:45." And then they have different starting times for all of the different years. So if you've got a 5-year-old who's in kindergarten and an 11-year-old that's in middle school, the kindergarten will start at 9, but the middle school starts at 7:45 a.m. and will finish earlier as well. So I don't know how American mothers do it. And in fact, from what I've seen a lot of here, a lot of American mothers don't work. They can't, or they're self-employed and they have their own businesses, or they have to pay an extortionate amount of fees in after-school care. But they don't make it easy, and I can't help but feel that that's on purpose. I feel like they don't make it easy for women over here, and I don't know how people do it.
it's tough. And and their maternity leave in the States as well, isn't it? It's completely different to
5 days
the
or something,
UK. Like, it's
2 weeks or something.
so
Yeah.
tough. It's insane. Did you think, Ali, when you wanted to go into the entertainment industry, did you think how that would impact if you had a family? Did you think that far ahead?
I didn't think of that hugely far ahead, but I was very aware that being self-employed gave me so much freedom. And that can be a double-edged sword. Like I know my husband, he's working from home today, for example, which means he didn't get out of bed till 9 a.m. He was like, I'm working from home. Whereas I have to be very structured and very I literally put in my calendar, right, 9 till 10, I'm doing this, 10 till 11, I'm doing this. And I'll put it all in my calendar, be really structured, and I will work solidly. I have to remember, I give myself a lunch break. Otherwise, I would work straight through that as well. And I'll always try and go for a walk after lunch as well, just to get in some fresh air. So I always knew that it's going to be flexible being self-employed. I didn't really factor in the family thing, but because it wasn't a concern, as in I knew that if I did have a child, I'd be able to fit it into my life as a self-employed person. But I remember when I came out of the airlines, I kind of vowed that I would never, if possible, work for someone else again. I'd never work for a big corporation who just saw me as a payroll number, who just saw me as someone else that was there to do the jobs that they wanted me to do, pay me very little money, and if I didn't like it, then I could leave. I didn't want that. I was kind of done with that. So that was all part of the joys, being flexible and also being able to um, feel more sense of worth in my job.
I was going to say, that's what that completely sounds like. Like, you're worth more than that.
Yeah. I would just remember being in the big corporation airline. I remember saying, I can't earn much more money than, why would I leave? I wouldn't earn as much money if I went outside. And within the first 6 months, I doubled my monthly income of what I'd been working for as a manager at an airline.
Yeah.
I managed to double that. And I read this book called by, oh gosh, what's her name? Jen, you're a badass at making money, and she's got another one.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, it's such a good book. I will try and remember, or I'll
Yes, I'll
send you
put the
the link
link in.
afterwards. Such a good book. Yeah, it's called You're a Badass at Making Money, and it completely changed my mindset on money. And she also has a book about you are a badass, and it's about changing
Love
your
that.
mental. Yeah, about your own view of yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah, like leaving the big corporation, I hated just feeling like nobody actually cared about me. And I know not all companies are like that. There are some great companies out there, but I feel like some of the ones that treat you the worst are the ones that make you feel like that you can't leave. And if you did leave, you wouldn't get anywhere else. They're very good at making you feel like you're not worth that much, because if you did, then you'd ask for more money.
And that, for in the airline example, that you can't even have those conversations, can you? Because it's kind of capped.
Oh yeah, no, you can't. You can't even. Yeah, there's no option to negotiate or anything like that. But
Yeah.
yeah,
And I can completely relate in the similar vein how, I mean, I couldn't even get to manager level. And I was
yeah.
there with a degree, a postgraduate.
And you were so
I was
good
like
at your job.
surprised and
Yeah,
not even like going for a promotion and not even be able to get it. And I think that knocking of self confidence, it's like,
yeah.
okay, well, you sometimes just have to go, okay, well, I'm going to try and do something different. But that's pretty scary. You've got to be pretty brave to do that, right?
I was lucky that I had that redundancy money and
That's
a
true.
very, very supportive partner who was like, don't you worry, we'll make it happen. And he did research for me on like courses I should take and investments I should make and things like that. So I was privileged in the fact that I had the redundancy money to fall back on and that support. But yeah, I don't know if I didn't have all of that, I don't know if I would have stayed, because I was starting to just resent life. Every single time I went to work, I was like, oh, what am I going to face today? What passengers is going to moan at me about something I've got no control of over today? So I would hope that I would be searching for more fulfilling careers, or just for a company that would value me a little more anyway. But yeah, but it's also individual, because there's people that love flying still, and I
Oh, yeah.
speak to them every day. I speak to
Yeah.
thousands of cabin crew, and they are passionate and enjoy their life. So this was just this is not a slur on the job of cabin crew by any means. It's just
And that
how
was
I
going
was
to,
feeling.
yeah, and that was actually going to be my question, Ali, about how when you left, it was kind of at that time, were you in your 30s when you
I
left?
was 35. 35? Yeah.
So kind of like at that age where you maybe start questioning those things about like fulfillment and values and start thinking
Yeah.
about those things. How important is it? Well, I think you've actually explained that, haven't you? That's pretty important to you. But do you think there was an age element to that as well?
I think it's one of the most fabulous things about being in your 40s is that you have this self-awareness. You know what your faults are, you know what your positive attributes are. You
Mm.
have a bit more of a sense of self and also perspective on life. I think if you can harness all of those feelings about yourself in your 40s, you can do amazing things. And I constantly see incredible women in their 40s like busting down doors, doing things that they want to do, they've always wanted to do, but didn't have the confidence until they got to this age. And I feel that, yeah, like definitely when I turned 35, I started feeling a little bit more like, okay, but I don't have to do this. What do I want from life?
Oh,
And,
yeah.
I'm kind of, halfway through, hopefully a little bit less than halfway through, but, halfway through. What do I want for the next 40 years? It's a powerful thing to be able to have that perspective, because when you're in your 20s, life is fun forever, or it's crazy, or it's you're doing whatever it is you're doing and it's all in the moment. I think when you reach your 30s and 40s, you start going, okay, what more do I want, and how can I take control of that?
Yeah. And it's like, I hear people talk so much about like motherhood as a transition, and definitely, you know, that kind of like the end of 30s, 40s as being like a midlife crisis. And it's all like, it can sound so negative. And
Yeah.
like, I love how like you've changed from having this much more positive outlook. And so, you know, what's the most positive thing about going into your 40s?
It's funny because I feel like I've probably discussed this with you before over our multiple voice messages, but like the whole perimenopause thing that hit me in the last couple of years. So I had to deal with that. But instead of seeing it as like a, oh no, I'm going through I'm seeing it as like, I'm transitioning into this next level of my life. Like the same way that we transitioned from child to young woman and when we went through puberty. How awesome is that? That's like a whole, we celebrate that. Like you're becoming a woman. This is great. And then you have your 20s and 30s and then you become a mother. Oh my gosh, that's great. This now is the part where once you've become aware of how to help yourself, because, you know, I now take medication to help my hormone imbalance and I feel much better. I don't have the aching joints and night sweats anymore. But once I've taken control of that, I'm like, okay, great. What's this next level for me? I'm going up again. Okay, who am I going to be? What kind of, and we talked about going, you know, moving into from, you know, being from mother to wise woman. That,
Yeah, I
you know, I'm
love
going to
that.
have
Like,
all this
wise
perspective.
owl.
Yeah, I'm going to be able to make decisions and choices. I have more money than I did in my 20s. I have more control. Like, okay, where do I want to go? What area do I want to explore now, whether that's physical or metaphorical? You know, what can I do? And things are way more possible in your 40s. So I think, you know, harnessing that energy and seeing it as a positive thing is powerful.
Yeah, it can be. And it's that mindset that you've talked about. It's being able to switch that mindset to that much more like, what opportunities is it going to give me and how, yeah, what can I do with it? It's
Yeah,
exciting.
it is. And I do get it. Like it's hard. And when I was unmedicated for a while, it was, you know, the anxiety came back and, you know, that all that kind of thing. But that's now become a sign for me. If my anxiety comes back, I'm like, okay, you need to take a step back and evaluate and see what you can change to make yourself feel better. We have that power. I think sometimes we can become so overwhelmed with all the things that are going wrong that we forget that we have the control. We can, okay, right, I need to go see a doctor. And if that doctor won't listen to my woes, because let's face it, a lot of them won't, I'll go see another doctor. I'll talk to somebody who will listen to me and treat my symptoms and not just the fact that I'm a woman. So that's what I did,
Mm.
and I found a great doctor that kind of prescribed me this cream that just put it on my arm once a day, and it feels so much better. I don't have any of those crazy mood swings,
What
and
is this magic cream?
it's just progesterone. I think it's progesterone estrogen cream.
Okay.
Again, it might be, you know, America, because
American.
you can get drugs on the internet here in America. But I was speaking to a in fact oh no, she's currently cabin crew, but she's also a doctor, Jen Parker. I was talking to her about perimenopause, and she is a big advocate for, if your doctor that you go to speak to doesn't listen to you, find another one. Because, and she's
Okay.
British and she's a doctor in the UK, and she's like, there are doctors out there that are learning more. And, you know, like anything, science is always evolving. And people are now realizing that, you know, menopause isn't just something that women in their 50s have. There's this whole 10-year period before that where we don't have to suffer. We don't have to feel miserable and feel not like ourselves. We have the power to be able to go and get these drugs now that will help us. So go find a doctor that will listen to you.
I think that advice could be applied to when you first become a mum too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's so ingrained in us as women sometimes to, if we do ask for help and we get shut down the first time, we go, "Oh, okay, I'm sorry." You know, it's still deep in our, you know, generations of upbringings where women's voices don't really get heard. And although you know, that that's not right anymore, but we still sometimes go, "Oh, okay. Oh, well, the doctor said I don't need it. So that's it.
Listen, I must be a
I'll
good little
just
girl.
listen. Yeah, I won't make a fuss." You know, it's a British thing as well. I've noticed as being, you know, a British person in America that Americans will make a fuss if it's not right. So, it's a British thing to be like, oh, okay, well, I guess that's it then.
I'll be quiet. Be a good girl and I'll just listen.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And we don't need to do that. We're not being crazy, angry women. We're just asking for the things that we know will help us become the best versions of ourselves. And that's okay.
We're just not good at asking for help. Like, I
Oh,
think
for sure. And
whether
I
that's a
don't know
UK thing
why.
or an American thing, I don't know. We're just not good at it at all,
No.
are we?
And I've looked into myself an awful lot over the last 10 years to figure out why I feel certain things. And I'm like, I have the most wonderful parents and who are still wonderful to this day. Like, there's no real reason for me to be in this position of feeling not worthy or, not good enough or all these things that I've talked about today. There's no reason for it. So I don't know what it is that causes us to be like, I guess maybe society, the things that happen to us in life, all these things kind of add up. But unless you're able to really take a step back and look at who you are as a person, what you want to be as a person, and see if you can try and join those dots, it's really easy to fall down a path where you just continually self-sabotage, don't ask for help, don't do anything to help yourself, and it's almost like you're just trying to make it to the finish line rather than making it the best journey as possible until you get to that finish line.
And you're a perfect example of somebody who has completely changed their narrative of themselves. And ironically, it's been your voice that has changed things for you, whether that's your voice in your head or your actual voice has completely changed your life, hasn't it? Completely. And so if there might be mums listening to this who are feeling like, they're lacking some confidence and that self-esteem going back into the workplace, because my goodness, that going back to work with a baby, I can feel it even myself, even now, like it was hard. What would your advice be?
I would say that if there's any way that you can help yourself, either I think everybody should go to therapy at some point in their life. I feel like therapy is the most amazing thing. I don't think anybody they shouldn't have a stigma to it. Maybe it's because I'm in America now and everyone loves therapy over here. But I genuinely, I had therapy a few times in the UK and it always helped me, made me have perspective. If you don't want to go to therapy, one of the best exercises you can do is for 30 minutes every day, do some free writing. Just get whatever is in the back of that head of yours out. Because I tell you what, there'll be some good ideas or good perspectives in there. And you might even just help yourself. I write sometimes just no punctuation, no care about what my handwriting looks like, just write whatever's stream of consciousness. All my best ideas come from that. And all of my moments come from that. Of like, oh, that's why I do what I do. So maybe if you're nervous about going back to work and you don't want to go to therapy to kind of talk to somebody professionally about that, just try writing and see, you might uncover why it is that you feel that way. And then once you know the reason why, you can do something about it. For example, I realized that I have a lot of negative self-talk sometimes, and now I can catch myself because I'm aware of it.
Because you write it? You catch it in the writing?
Yeah. And then you're like, no, don't talk about, no, you don't, that's not how you feel about yourself. Let's change that. That's changed that way. And let's work on that. Like we found a knot in the muscle. Let's massage that out. So, for people who, it is hard going back to work because you are not the same person as you were before. That's just the way it is. Doesn't mean you're a worse version of the person you were before. Now you've got new skills, patience. You've got, an ability, you've got resilience. All of these things that you get when you become a mum that, grow tenfold because you have to have these skills to parent a tiny human that's intent on killing themselves. All these things, you can bring that to your role now. That's a good thing. So write it out and see what's in there. What is it that you're worried about and see how you can help yourself.
Oh, Ali, I love that advice. And what's the best idea that's come out of your free writing?
So I have a podcast now. I don't know if you know. I was free writing about my stories that I have as cabin crew. And I was writing about, I need to write more of these things down because I have so many things that I want to remember and so many crazy stories that people wouldn't believe. And I want to be able to tell my son all these things as well. And I was trying to write them down. And I realized I wasn't great at writing. I was also writing at the same time because, your brain goes two ways. I was like, okay, I want more work. As a voice actor, I love doing documentary style work. And a couple of years ago, I did a true crime podcast, narrated that, and I loved it. It was such a gorgeous form of storytelling. And I loved doing the storytelling. So I was like, writing down about how maybe I could write something myself and make a podcast myself about the stories that I have as cabin crew. It all started coming out, and I was like, but my writing isn't great, and I can't tell a lot of the stories because I need to keep a lot of people's identities secret. How do I do this? And then I remembered Kaylee Kay, who's a cabin crew member who's also an author. And so she writes solely in the world of aviation. And I was like, maybe if I contact Kaylee Kay, and maybe if I see if she wants to be involved in it. And then when I contacted her, she was like, no way, I was thinking of doing short stories next year. And this kind of sounds exactly what I want to do. And then from there, we made this podcast, and that we've been going for 10 months now, and 50 episodes I think we've got to now, and we every week release a true story in the style of an audiobook, so it's kind of sounds like it's fictional, but it's actually all true. So we've managed to cover up some people's identities and things like that, about all the crazy things passengers do, all the crazy things we used to do down route, parties and shenanigans. So that all came from free writing, because I was just allowing my brain to empty itself on the page, and I had this great idea in the back of my head. And through doing that podcast, I've now been invited to talk on 2 different documentaries. I've flown back to the UK before to go speak and be an expert on cabin crew and travel. It's opened up all of these doors for me. So it's definitely, all that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't emptied my brain out on a piece of paper.
Love that. Like, not only has it helped you personally with your own inner voice, but it's actually fulfilled you, like that creative element with your career as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I should do it more often, because I always advocate it and then life gets in the way and you get too busy. But I used to set aside 30 minutes every morning once my kid had gone to school, just to write some stuff down. And it didn't have to be interesting. Sometimes the pages probably just say, I don't know what to say right now. I had a banana for breakfast. I don't know. It'll just be nonsense. And then suddenly that'll lead on to, oh, actually, I was thinking about bananas the other day, and about the time I went to this country and saw a banana tree. And then it will just, your brain just takes you on a little journey that will eventually figure out something. I remember I was thinking, writing about how I wish I'd asked my gran more questions about her young life while she was alive. And from that, I was like, oh, why don't I see if there are any flight attendants that used to fly in the 60s who can tell me their stories about their days. And we had a few podcast episodes that were all about the early days of flying. And I loved that. That all came from free writing, because I was thinking about my gran, and then it all suddenly started to go into what I could do for work. So yeah, it's a powerful tool.
And I love that that's going to, you're leaving a bit of a legacy for Nolan as well. Like, you're role modeling something for him to see, which is really beautiful.
Yeah.
And it sounds like being creative and that kind of creative industry is really important for you. Like, it fulfills you in your career.
Absolutely. It was a big gaping hole for the 14 years that I wasn't doing anything, and now it's back. It's super fulfilling. It makes life so exciting for me, what I can create, who I can collaborate with as well. I love that, meeting new people and getting emails asking me for advice. I love giving out advice for people who are starting their career as in the creative industry. So all of that is just, it just brings me so much joy. So whatever it is that you've got a passion for, see if you can somehow work it into your career, because it's so fulfilling. I don't think I'll ever retire, I'll be honest. And my husband is an animator, and he said the other day, I don't think I'll ever retire. He said, I don't want just 20 years left of this. I love this. I'm going to be doing it until I physically can't anymore. That's the very lucky thing to have. We both have jobs that we love doing so much that we don't want to stop. We're not working towards retirement.
And that's beautiful for Nolan to see, right? Like, he's seeing his parents just really love what they do.
Yeah, and it's very different. We grew up in the 80s, and I saw my mum and dad work so hard. Mum had 4 jobs at one point, and dad was working, he was driving up and down the country working for a automobile company, and it wasn't joyful for them. They didn't love their work. They worked to get money to pay for everything else. And I'm so grateful for them to doing that. But they're also super supportive. When I said I wanted to be an actor at 11, they were like, great, let's go find a theatre company you can join. I want to be that for Nolan, but also now I get to mirror it. I get to show him, if you can find something that you love doing and then turn that into a career, life is just amazing. So I was lucky that I had parents who were very supportive, and now I get to do the same for Nolan, but in a bigger way as well.
Yeah, I love hearing that. And that's why I was so excited to have you on here because you are someone that's completely living their dream, and that's really, really special. And we need to acknowledge that there are some people that are having to do jobs that they don't completely love because they need to earn to bring the money in. But what I'm hearing from you is, if there is something that you love doing, get that in, and who knows where that might take you.
Exactly. And I completely appreciate I am super privileged now because I'm able to do all this stuff. But if you have to do the job for the money so that you can pay the rent and get food and stuff like that, if there is any way that you can bring some kind of joy into your life through creativity or through a passion of yours, just keep on working at that, because that's important too. And you never know where it's going to lead. I have a mantra of like, take every opportunity. Life is beautifully short and beautifully wonderful. Take every opportunity. You don't know where it's going to lead you. So whilst you're doing the things that you have to do, don't forget yourself.
Yeah, that's a beautiful mantra and something I'll take away with me, because this podcast is my little passion project.
I love it. I'm so happy for you.
Who knows what will happen?
You don't know what's going to happen.
You don't.
That's the exciting thing.
Yeah, and I am completely squeezing this in on top of motherhood, my job, and everything else, because exactly like you were saying, life is short. I want to do something I really enjoy, and you just need to find little ways of squeezing it in, don't you? And so that's a great mantra. Ellie, I've got one question for you. We've talked about some amazing things today. We've had a great conversation, but can I finish on 2 last quick hot seat questions?
Okay, let's go.
If your journey had a theme song, what would it be?
Do you know what the first thing that comes to my head is? I feel like I'm bumping it along most of the time. But actually, I'm going to say something epic, like, I don't know, like something Meatloaf would have sung.
Oh, okay.
Like Meatloaf would have like a 7-minute long song, and it would go from all beautiful singing and melodic, and I think that's a perfect example of what life should be like as well. It should always be like unexpected and exciting, and then romantic, and then all of the other. It's a tapestry. It should be all these beautiful things. So I think maybe something like that.
A Meatloaf thing.
Or a musical. I love a musical. So yeah.
No. And if you had a magic wand, what one thing would you change about the workplace for mothers? We've touched on a lot today about how it's quite challenging out there.
I would say the flexibility. I think mothers are very capable of working their job around their children and their home lives, given the opportunity. Now, we all proved during COVID that we can work from home and we can work around children and stuff like that. And it's disappointing to see that a lot of companies now are insisting people go back into the office, or insisting that people work certain hours. I feel like if we're given that flexibility and trust that we will do the work and be able to work it around bringing up our children, everybody gets the best of everybody that way. So that's the only thing I wish that would worldwide, it would be the flexibility.
Yeah, I think that would make a huge difference.
Yeah.
It's been an absolute joy to talk to you. I feel like that's a good place to wrap things up. If people would want to tune in to your podcast, which I listen to on my drive into work because it absolutely cracks me up, especially when you do the accents, where can they tune in?
It's called the Red Eye Podcast, and you can listen wherever you get your podcasts. It's on Apple, Spotify, Alexa. It's everywhere that you listen to podcasts. It's there.
Fabulous. And what's your favourite accent to do?
Just my own. I always, do you know, it's funny because as an actor over in the US, I work in an American accent quite a lot. Like, I filmed entire movies with an American accent. But when I'm doing my podcast and I have to switch between an American guy like, hey, let me buy you a drink, I'm like, that doesn't sound right. I get really cross with myself. And then I'm sure Kaylee, when she's writing these stories, is like, let's see what I can make Ali do. The latest one, she was just like, this Serbian man. I was like, Serbian. I have to Google that. I don't know what Serbian
else then. Yeah.
Oh dear. So yeah.
Okay. Perfect. And they will definitely bring some joy into people's lives because they are hilarious.
Oh, thank you. They're only 20 minutes long, so
yeah,
get into your laundry.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ali. Thank you for being so open and honest and sharing your journey with everybody today.
Thank you for having me.
Have a beautiful day.
Thank you. Good night.
Enjoy those birds. Thank you for joining me on Mama's Flight Path. I hope today's episode inspired and empowered you. To support the show, please share with a friend and leave a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. This really helps us reach more mamas. I'd love for us to stay connected. Simply visit the website mamasflightpath.com. See you next week. Until then, fly high and shine bright, mama.